My name's Norris and I'm an artist from North Pembrokeshire. I am a painter and I work in mixed media. I came to glass about 12 years ago.
Hi, my name's Rachel Phillips and I'm a stained glass artist from Pembrokeshire.
Rachel and I live in the same village and we began working together in 2012 when I was shortlisted for a commission for Conwy Castle. It wasn't a glass commission, but I was doing a few things in glass at that time. But I had never made a stained glass window. But I went to this site I was going to make cast glass sculptures for it. And then I saw the chapel in Conwy Castle and this really beautiful window and thought that would be amazing to make a window for there.
You love research, so you'd found these amazing sort of 15th century fragments at Llandudno Museum, and you were sort of really taken by them as well, weren't you? And came back and showed me the photos, and we tend to, I like to call it, geek out about the same things. So we both love these fragments and the sort of the life and the connection with the original makers.
We decided to make a sample panel. Actually, we did decide to make a sample
for the
panel
proposal because my experience with glass, and you'd done some glass, but you'd done more casting and things. But my experience with stained glass is that you've got to experience it to really connect with it, and that's quite hard on paper or even in photographs. So we thought
for the client,
well, for anyone, but particularly when you're trying to sell an idea, a page of text,
especially when they hadn't asked for glass in the first place.
They hadn't asked for glass. And it was quite a radical thing to propose to put a stained glass window back into this amazing building. So we thought, right, if it's going to sell, it's going to be through some glass. So we'll make a sample panel, and that will also give us the opportunity to just work out how and why we can and if we can do this. And we ended up very politely, with fragments like this. We researched things. We did fragments of imagery that we were interested in. And we ended up with fragments and paper, and collaging was our way in of being able to put things together. But it was quite polite to begin with.
But also we ended up with 2 panels.
Yes.
So we've got 2 panels when we were going to make one. And I think that stained glass itself, you've got pieces that go together. That's what I love about stained glass. You can have a window, a massive window, and you can carry it in a tray when it's like this. And then it all goes together. So it's a composite of small things. And it enabled us to put my idea and Rachel's idea next to each other physically. Mm. And I remember when you say about being polite, it would be like, how would you feel if I cut this in half so that it fitted in there? So you're literally physically cutting each other's work up. So, I think that was a good...
Yeah, no, it was very amiable, but it was that strange transition from I make all the decisions to I'm allowing someone else into this part of the process now.
But also it enabled us to work on separate pieces.
Mm. And then bring them
together as a collage. And I think collage has been a really important part of the way we work, actually, anyway. I mean, now, obviously, when we're working on the same piece of glass often together, doing different processes. It's not like it's separate pieces of glass now. But I think that the actual physicality of the material was important. It gave us a way of... Because we are very different. We have a very different aesthetic and everything. So, yeah. But colour... Colour unites us as well because we're both colourists. And we just get so excited by a piece of glass on a mirror surface or something. You can look at it for hours.
Yes.
When we've got a brief, we go and do site visit, and then we will each go off and work on our own ideas for a while. And then we will come together, a cup of tea, and lay it all out on the table. And sometimes it's quite uncanny how similar our approach is. Not necessarily the minutiae of the design, but the idea.
But what's caught our interest, or our what's calling out to us from the project that we want to look at. Quite often they're in the same area, and we've done that because we're both artists that work on our own, or certainly did for all the time. So that transition into working with someone else, especially at the beginning, it's one thing to say, I've had this idea, can you do this for me? That's a totally different way of equally valid, but a totally different collaboration to let's design something together, because it's about those vulnerable, early, unformed ideas that actually you have to feel safe with. We feel safe with each other going, this is what I've thought to do. And you know yourself, those early ideas, quite often they're not developed. They're vulnerable little things, and you have to feel like you can develop them and feel safe to not get crushed, and you get crushed in it. So we've developed a way of most of the time doing that in a supportive way. I feel like we both know that what we want is the best result. It's not about me. It's not about Linda.
Oh, yeah.
It's important that we're in there, that it's our work, but it's not like,
Well, we both have the sense that the building is the client.
Yeah.
Whoever's paying us the money, at the end of the day, the building lives longer than any of us. So we have a duty of care to those buildings to put the best work that we can into them. And we're both very thorough. So when we visit a site, we're both looking at how the light's going, what other things are going on in the environment, what other considerations, how's the building being used and stuff like that. So we're both quite good problem solvers anyway on that sort of level, aren't we?
And it's in a medium that has a longevity to it. It's not something that's going to be there for 5 minutes. It's going to be there for many decades, hopefully.
Centuries.
Yeah. This ability to discuss ideas, to look at things, reflect on them with another person has been really useful, and shaped my practice in the sense that I realised quite often with windows I would finish them and then I go, if I did that again, like if you make anything the second time, it would be different because of what you've learnt in the making of it. But what I found with my windows, I would go and go, I do that a bit differently. With Linda, because we dragged everything out into the light, like everything, and took much longer to design things sometimes because we had to agree, or we had to come to a place we were both happy with.
We had to explain it to each other.
We had to not justify it in the sense of but literally to go to wrestle these things and go, is this the best response? And so very often, I think all our projects, they've got it and I go, yeah, happy, because we've
resolved it.
We've wrestled all of it, and it's made me think, actually, I make more. I mean, I always knew it was important, but to make more space for that in my own practice, because I've seen the result of actually it's a really fruitful way of working.
I think that the connection that stained glass has given us between the historic building and our work is so vital, because the techniques that we're using, a lot of them are the same techniques that would have been used by itinerant glass workers in the medieval period. So there's a very direct link, and quite often when we're looking at old stained glass medieval pieces, you can see the actual mark of the brushstroke or the thumbprint of the maker or something, and that's something that is kind of really poignant for both of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
We live in a place with one bus a week, and it's 2 hours or an hour and a half to Swansea. It's to get access to equipment is not easy where we live. So the fact that we've got it here, that we can say, I'm just going to try that out and go and do it, and 10 minutes later you can say, that's not really working, or that's the wrong scale. You can try things out. So you're able to develop, or we're able to develop our language much more. And I think that is definitely a benefit, that because it happens that we do collaborate really well. We've been able to buy equipment together, which has furthered both of our practices, definitely. I think there is a disadvantage as well sometimes in working collaboratively, that we have discovered somewhat to our cost. That because there are two of us, we put a lot more in than we would if there was one of us. And this is very difficult sometimes because although we love it and we love working together, sometimes it's not that sustainable in terms of the amount of time that we put into a project, that if it was just me or just Rachel, it just wouldn't be possible to do. Like, we do joke that we could offer a 24-hour service because Rachel works late and I start early. But to be honest, sometimes that I think we do need to manage our time sometimes with projects, or certainly with putting in bids for projects.
Yes, and I think the last couple of years, especially, we've talked about that more, and we've started to work. We've started to realise where we need to do things jointly, and where we can do things separately, and it has become more streamlined. But it's a discipline we've got to keep developing, I think.
Yes, because when you have a budget for a project, it's for that project, and for us, 2 people have to be paid out of that budget. So that sometimes is quite tricky to manage, isn't it? Looking forward in the future, something that we would like to do would be to make a stained glass window for a building, like a health service building, a hospital, a publicly accessible building that's used by the community. I would really like to do that.
We've been shortlisted in the past for a couple of public art pieces, external work, and I think that would be exciting to explore, working with different medium, or combining things with stone and metal and wood. That's something we're interested in.
Definitely, making sculptural work is something we would be interested in doing going forward.
Yeah.
I think the benefits for me of working collaboratively are a bit like being in a choir, that you can sing different music. So you can sing, on your own, in the bath, wherever, on stage. But if you sing with a choir, it's like a weaving of many different people coming together, and it gives it a richness. So for me, as a painter and as an artist working mostly independently, it is a unique thing to be able to collaborate with another artist to make work that you couldn't have made on your own. I mean, partly I couldn't have made that window on my own because I'd never made a stained glass window. And it's a World Heritage Site. So, I needed to work with someone who knew the techniques. But beyond that, it's a collaboration of minds and creativity that goes beyond the technical skills.
I was trained in a sort of a design make tradition. So although there's a period of time for exploring and researching, developing, it tends to be, quite sort of regulated. You need to get on and got a deadline, And, Linda's got a really strong connection with, exploring much more poetic ways of responding to a site, tacit ways of experiencing it. So it's a much broader and more interesting way of responding to briefs generally. So that's one of the ways. Also, I like working with people who I have a laugh with, and we have a laugh. It's really important. Yeah.
It is really important, yeah.